Good evening, everybody. I'll call our regular public council meeting for Monday, April 17th, 2023 to order. The new business, Councillor Pepper. Councillor Manning?
Pass.
Councillor Pollard?
Pass.
Councillor Appy?
Thank you.
Councillor Goss, absent. Deputy Mayor?
I got a few thank yous.
And I got thanks. All right. Is there anybody here that wants to get on first Q&A? Nope. All righty. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as amended, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried, thank you. Conflict of interest, we don't have none of that little paper today? Julia?
My apologies, I forgot to give them out.
Mayor, we have a conflict with Canoe, the procurement under corporate services.
Yes, hang on, before we do that, Anne's gonna hand these out. Can I get a motion to adopt the regular public council minutes for April 3rd, please?
Second.
Moved, seconded, any errors or omissions?
Thank you, Anne.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carried. Okay. There's nothing on that sheet. The issue with the canoe, we'll deal with that when it comes up at Public Works. It's Public Works, okay. Alrighty. Proclamations, presentations. First one there is for Earth Day 2023. Councillor Tepper.
Thank you. Proclamation recognizing April 22nd, 2023 as Earth Day. Whereas Earth Day is celebrated annually to celebrate the beauty of our planet, recommit to actions to promote a healthy environment and to maintain a peaceful, just and sustainable world. Earth Day was first celebrated in 1970 in the United States and has since grown to be a worldwide day of environmental action. And whereas Torbay has been a partner of Earth Day Canada since 2020, and we believe Earth Day is every day. And whereas Torbay has declared purple the color of the year, so we encourage residents plant purple flowers and to join a horticulture society or a local garden group and create a bond with your community. And whereas the town of Torbay participated in the preparation of the Killie Coast Agriculture Strategic Plan and is supportive of the Killie Coast Agriculture Advisory Committee's plans to grow the conversation about food security in the region. And whereas Torbay is committing to plant fruit trees around the Torbay Common Community Garden this year to improve local habitat and ecosystem, as well as food security at the same time. And whereas Torbay has been partnering with the Stewardship Association of Municipalities since 1997 and has been taking a strong stance in protecting Torbay's precious habitats and wetland areas. Since 1997, approximately 459 acres have been protected under the stewardship agreement. Torbay has also been collaborating with Ducks Unlimited Canada and the Conservation Corps of Newfoundland and Labrador. And whereas this year's theme for Earth Day is Picture a Better Planet, we encourage everyone to think about how we can make this a better planet. Urban areas are set to become home to 2/3 of the world population by 2050. And as climate change is being experienced, municipalities find themselves at the front line of the battle against climate change. And whereas Council, under its 2023 budget, has set funds aside to assess the town's climate change vulnerabilities and has an adopted climate action plan in effect.
Now therefore, on behalf of the Council of the Town of Torbay and on behalf of the citizens of Torbay, I hereby proclaim Saturday, April 22nd, 2023 as Earth Day. So moved.
Second.
Second, any comments? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next one is the proclamation for National Organ and Tissue Donor Awareness Week. Councillor May.
Thank you. Proclamation, National Organ and Tissue Donor Awareness Week. The Canadian Transplant Association, CTA, was created in 1987 to raise awareness about organ donation and celebrate the success of transplants in saving lives. Members of the CTA consist of transplant recipients, athletes, volunteers dedicated to promoting organ and tissue transplants, and providing support networks to donors and recipients. Whereas there are over 4,300 Canadians awaiting a life-saving organ transplant, and whereas each year hundreds of Canadians die waiting, and whereas 75 people could receive tissue from one donor, and whereas one donor and tissue donor can save up to 8 lives and enhance as many as 75.
Now therefore, on behalf of the community of Torbay, I do hereby proclaim April 23rd to the 29th, 2023 to be Organ and Tissue Donor Awareness Week. So moved.
Second.
Comments?
I just like to say that I've been a donor since I got my license a long, long time ago. And I fully agree with this program, and always have, even at a young age. Not sure what is going to be any good at this stage of my life, but I fully encourage anyone to look into it and seriously consider it. It is important. That's it. Thanks.
And then one thing that I would encourage everybody to make sure they let their family know their intentions.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the main things, one of the hiccups that
True.
happens when people pass, that their organs can't get donated.
I just want to touch on that as well.
Go ahead.
When my brother was basically, he was in a coma, and Father Butler came to me and he wanted to know what the decision was of the family, and I'm thinking, what are you asking me for? Because it was something that wasn't talked about. So what organs could be donated were donated, but one of the big things, and I will always remember it, were his eyes were donated. And a couple of years later, Shirley, I guess, was informed and received some correspondence basically saying how thankful that somebody else got their sight back based on the organ donation. So every time I see anything to do with that now, I automatically go back to that point where it did. As bad as it is to talk about it, but so yeah, I encourage everybody to do it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next on the list is Proclamation for Tourism Week. We got that one. Councillor Rapley?
Thank you, Mayor. Proclamation recognizing April 24th to the 30th, 2023 as National Tourism Week. Whereas National Tourism Week is recognized annually to celebrate opportunities in Canada through travel and tourism by highlighting and aligning tourism organizations, businesses, and other partners from across the country around a common vision. And whereas the town of Torbay acknowledges the Tourism Industry Association of Canada as the national organization representing the full cross-section of Canada's tourism industry, and that the theme for 2023 is Canada, powered by tourism. Whereas the town of Torbay recognizes that tourism builds attractive, livable communities that foster our culture, heritage, and environment, and is an important source of economic activity. Whereas the town of Torbay's tourism sector has great potential in building capacity, preserving and promoting the living culture and rich heritage through tourism. And whereas throughout National Tourism Week, the town will launch a week-long tourism campaign and encourages residents to participate.
Now therefore, on behalf of the Council of the Town of Torbay and on behalf of the citizens of Torbay, I hereby proclaim April 24th to the 30th, 2023 as National Tourism Week. So moved.
Second.
Seconded. Comments?
I'll take a comment if I can. Thank you. You know, this is important. We have people come into our town, and the slogan for our town is "Beautiful Torbay," and boy, is it ever. And I was on a work call today with my counterparts from across the country, talking about how nice the weather has been under 30 degrees in Ottawa and how they're enjoying listening to the frogs in the neighborhood. And I was talking about how beautiful it is looking out my harbor to see the absolutely iconic icebergs that we have here. And you know, there's many people that I've spoken to who just would give their left eye to have that opportunity to come see an iceberg or a whale or to understand how things are here. And you know, we've got a whole lot to be proud of. So it's not just showing off how amazing our town is, but every person that comes in here, you've got the ability for them to stop at Traditional, stop at Torbay Bakery, stop at the pub that's going to be there when that opens, drive money in the economy, create positions for people. So many amazing opportunities. And Mayor, you yourself, when we travel and we go up to national conferences, I've noticed you've taken our tourism video and shared it broad and widely for everyone so that they can know how great the town of Torbay is.
Very good opportunity.
Right? So, you know, this is something that's important. We absolutely encourage people to participate and be a part of the activities as they come up. And I couldn't be proud to be chair of the committee that's got staff organizing this for the town of Torbay this week. Thank you.
Thank you. Well said. Any other comments? I do know that when we hosted Atlantic Mayors Congress this past summer in August was done, that the mayors that came were pretty impressed. Now, granted, it's Atlantic mayors, so they're all familiar with the ocean, but they really did enjoy our town and our facility and everything that we have to offer. Good on us. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. All right, one more. Municipal Clerks Week 2023. Councilor Pollard.
Thank you, Your Worship. 54th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week, April 30th to May 6th, 2023. Whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk provides the professional link between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community, whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meetings of their state, country, province, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishment of the Office of the Professional Municipal Clerk.
Now therefore, I, Craig Scott, Mayor of the Town of Torbay, do recognize the week of April 30th through May 6th, 2023 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerks and to all professional municipal clerks for the vital service they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. So moved.
Second.
Comment?
I just want to say that I think there's a few key items in the proclamation here. One is the link between the citizens and the local government, and the neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Also, I think it's at this point in time, it's great to be able to recognize, and oftentimes people don't, the sometimes quandary that municipal clerks find themselves in, and their municipal clerks take on many different responsibilities in terms of size of community. There's some small communities, some larger communities, they take on different responsibilities, but many times they find themselves in untenable situations where they have to be that balance between, you know, what is right and what is wrong, and then trying to cross that line or marry that line up so that they end up with a decision that is right for the town, both legally and professionally. So I just want to reach out and say, you know, thanks to all professional municipal clerks around the province, especially Don and here directly in terms of the day-to-day operations, and as well outside of this too, where I guess the clerks were, and I don't mean to take away from municipal clerks, I think it extends to all staff as well, because lots of times the clerks themselves have multiple responsibilities. In larger towns, those responsibilities are spread out even more, so I want to extend thanks to staff as well at this point in time.
Okay, well said. Anybody else?
Yeah, right here.
Go ahead.
I just want to take the opportunity as well to thank professional municipal clerks around the province, but especially Dawn and Ann, for the work that they do on an ongoing basis and often not recognized for what they do behind the scenes. So rather adding anything else to it than what Tony, Councillor Pollard has already said, I just say a big thank you.
Okay. All right, anyone else? Mhm. I echo all those sentiments. I'm sure as everybody does. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. All righty, where am I to? Q&A, we got one. Mayor's report, I'm just going to make a quick comment that I attended the 49th Annual Firefighters Ball on Saturday night. It was packed house at the 3 community rooms at the community center. You know, there were some awards given out. Councillor Manning will speak to that later on. But I just want to say thank you to them for inviting us and for all the work that they do. And also this week is volunteer week, so you know there's no greater volunteers in our community, I don't think, than the fire department. And they're very professional and they do a great job. And it was my pleasure to be able to be there and pass along council's thanks for exactly what they do, and I know they appreciate it. Next year is going to be the 50th anniversary of the Torbay Volunteer Fire Department, and just as last summer the town celebrated 50 years of incorporation for us, next year the fire department are going to be celebrating their 50th year, so let's keep an eye out for events that they're going to be putting off, and I'm sure that they're going to be coming to us at budget time looking for a few extra dollars to do something to celebrate that significant milestone. So just putting it in your ear now because I happened to mention it the other night when I was there. But anyway, so thank you very much. Business Horizon report. Anybody have any questions, comments on any of that? Okay, moving on, correspondence. We have correspondence here from the Department of Municipal and Provincial Affairs regards to the Torbay budget. It's there for information purposes only. They have our budget and there is no material deficiencies. So, looks like we're good to go. We have another one there from the Department of Municipal and Provincial Affairs, Building Age-Friendly Communities Grant Approval. So we did get approval for a grant. And I know the Deputy Mayor attended the announcement of this last Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you for the opportunity to go there and to attend that and hear, I guess, Minister Howell and as well as Minister Abbott speak to the importance of building age-friendly communities. And the importance that our seniors are to any community. And when we're talking about this, and for me, as everyone knows, that is something that I'm really supporting, and I'm behind 100%, 110% here in the town. So it was good to know that we got that funding for some seating and going down to the monument down on the beach. And there was something else in addition to the seating that the funding, I thought I read in addition.
5 benches to be installed.
5 benches, yeah. So, yeah, in trails as well. So, no, it was really good to connect with everybody there and to have the opportunity. So any funding, that opportunity that comes up for that, we need to take advantage of it and really support whatever we can for our citizens and keep them living in our community. Like, there was so much that I gathered out of that I wasn't even thinking about, and to get them to live in the community as long as we can, and help in keeping them active and support in any way that we can. So it was all good.
Okay, all right.
Thanks.
Next one is from a teacher at Juniper Ridge Intermediate. She contacted me to basically talk about how awesome the field trip was at the Torbay History House and Museum. And I know that our school program that's running out of there the kids really look forward to going to the museum and seeing the things that are there and doing some interactive activities. And it's nice to get some feedback from teachers who are actually bringing the kids there, and to know that the program that we're doing is useful and that they look forward to going. We got a letter here from the RNCA Association, and they're looking at a staffing project. I asked to include this in the package so that we could forward it off to committee or committee of the whole, somewhere where council can have a discussion on it and see if we are in agreement to write a letter of support for what they're looking for. Memo from the CAO. There's a motion here needs to be adopted. All right, so I'll read this out and then someone will have to do the motion. Who can, Mary? Ron? Okay. So this is a memo from the CAO. Further, Municipal Code of Conduct Act 2022. All municipalities are required to establish code of conduct for municipal councillors and municipal officials. Town of Torbay adopted both its codes of conduct at November 14, 2022 public council meeting. Following the processes outlined for investigations, there is a requirement for a 40-day extension. This extension must be approved by motion of council. Please find it below the required motion of council for consideration at the April 17, 2023 public council meeting. Thank you, Don. Rhonda?
Okay, as per the adopted municipal codes of conduct, Torbay Town Council authorized the Chief Administrative Officer to extend an investigation by 40 business days. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Alrighty. Committees of council. Committee of the whole report, there is none. Is there? No? Okay. Planning, land use development, Councillor Pollard.
Thank you, Your Worship. We met on the 12th of April, myself and Councillor Tapper and Director Schwartz and Jason Slade. Jason? Yeah. There's three motions here. The first motion refers to Crown Land referral for Tapper's Farm Road. It's the clearing of 17 hectares of land for agricultural purposes. Motion to approve the Crown Lands application CL 2023-003, referral number 160996 on Tapper's Farm Road, subject to the submission of a review and approval from the Provincial Water Resources Division for the delineation of the wetland areas, buffers, and any crossings of waterways. So moved.
Moved and seconded. Comments?
Just one. I spoke with the director today and asked her for some information around this, and I think it's important that we just remember the stormwater management component of the work that we're doing. And I asked the director about it. My understanding is that under our town's policies and regulations, it's required for any future development, agriculture being the same, that we're considering what happens when we're clearing land. And, we've got a $10 million bill that the town of Torbay is paying now because of stormwater management issues that we've had in the past. So I'm all for agriculture development and making sure that we have sustained, spaces to grow vegetables here. I've definitely mentioned in this chamber before concerns about all the food that's being imported. But I do think as well we need to be proactive and make sure that as, large areas of lands are getting cleared for that development, that we're looking at stormwater runoff, what that impact could be on the community, watersheds, other things, so that we've got a clear understanding of what that impact is and how to mitigate and make sure that we don't have the town and residents incur costs in the future like we've had in the past. When you know better, you do better, and that's the only point that I want to raise on that. And my understanding from Julia, correct me if I'm wrong, but that would be part of the next steps of where to from here in how we address this. Is that correct? Is my understanding correct?
Yes, so in general, it would be the proponent's requirement to manage stormwater, and once we actually receive an application for this, we can also bring it back to the planning committee to kind of clarify the requirements that will apply to this application then.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, so just want to make sure that consideration is being thought about as we move forward, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The next one is a South Pond Amendment on Pump House Road, watershed zone to industrial. I'm gonna read all this out, not because I necessarily want to bore people to death or everyone can read it themselves, but just to, because the area of South Pond has been in the watershed designation for such a long period of time, I just want to try to get as much information as we can out to people so that everyone really understands. So the committee reviewed the background report prepared on this matter and discussed the proposed amendment associated with the lifting of the South Pond watershed designation and zoning at length. As council is aware, the provincial watershed protection was repealed by the minister in 2012 due to contamination issues of the South Pond watershed. The committee noted that the town is in receipt of 1 rezoning application and 2 active inquiries by area property owners on this matter. The committee weighed the pros and cons of preparing a development scheme at this point or not. In summary, it was determined that further research was required to determine the future of the forested and cutting areas, servicing and access considerations in and out of the area, while acknowledging that the long-term plan, as has been talked about for many years and has outlined in the economic strategic roadmap, was to create a commercial light industrial park in this area. To further detail and refine the long-term plans for the area, the committee recommended that staff arrange for a meeting with the City of St. John's to determine their plans for the RCAF access road and include long-term planning, access and servicing goals for the area as part of the municipal plan review. The committee also acknowledged that there is immediate short-term interest in application by the applicant for 7 Pump House Road to rezone the subject property to industrial general and general interest to lift the South Pond watershed zone by 3 other property owners to lift the watershed zone off the general area. Based on this, the committee recommends proceeding with the necessary public consultation process and mapping amendments to the St. John's Urban Regional Plan and the Torbay Municipal Plan and the Torbay Development Regulations 2015 to 2025, so that the property at 7 Pump House Road is rezoned to industrial, general, and other developable lands are being lifted out of the watershed zone and placed into the holding zone comprehensive development area, industrial, until a full development scheme is prepared, while all rivers, wetlands, associated buffer and forestry domestic cutting areas retain their current designations and zoning to ensure that the integrity of the existing North Pond watershed domestic cutting areas, forested areas, rivers and wetlands are not negatively impacted while the town is reviewing its municipal plan and determine the future of these areas as part of that process. Therefore, the following motion is tabled. Motion to proceed with the public consultation process to undertake mapping amendments to the St. John's Urban Regional Plan, the Torbay Municipal Plan, and the Development Regulations 2015-2025, so that the property at 7 Pump House Road can be rezoned to industrial general and other developable lands are being lifted out of the watershed zone and placed into the holding zone comprehensive development area, industrial CDA-1, until a full development scheme is prepared, while existing rivers, wetlands, associated buffers, and forestry domestic cutting areas retain their current designations and zoning to ensure that the integrity of the existing North Pond watershed, domestic cutting areas, forested areas, rivers, and wetlands are not negatively impacted, and future plans for these areas can be determined as part of the municipal plan review process. So moved.
Moved and seconded. Comments?
Just speaking of this, I guess this was, as alluded to, it was conversation obviously since 2012, I guess, really, and, you know, at least a few other councils. The area itself was to be all redone to an industrial area, and I know we have some other folks who have interest in the property because it is watershed at the present time. So the one at 7 Pump House Road is I say, fairly easy process to do, and that is a smaller piece of land, doesn't impact all the property in behind, and has less implications to the lifting of that watershed area than the other lands that are there. The other lands that are there, when we were looking at it as well, we found out that there's also a domestic cutting area in that area, so to wantonly rezone that to something other than comprehensive development scheme at this point in time would be a little premature until we actually figure out exactly how we want that area in there laid out, how we want it, the scheme to look, and as well at the, you know, exit to and exit from that as well, and hence the the need to converse with, I guess, the city of St. John's in terms of the RCF road access, as that may be in access. The other thing is the close proximity of South Pond to North Pond as well, and the buffer areas that are associated, so we need to be really sure we get that nailed down too, so we know what can be done within those areas. But there's no reason to not do anything for 7 Pond House Road, and we do really want to show that we're moving forward and lift the watershed designation from South Pond, because it will never be used as a watershed area.
Okay. Got our comment?
Just to note it again, I called the director about this one too. And people have asked me questions. They're driving at the bypass road and they're saying, well, how is it that the town depot and the, industrial development that is there is allowed and permitted by this council in such close proximity to North Pond? And so my understanding from speaking to the director and reviewing the file is that this land that we're talking about lifting is again closer to North Pond, but because of the topography, there's a ridge there and it has its own watershed, which makes sure that people of the community can rest assured that by lifting this, we're not impacting the drinking water in the North Pond watershed. So I just want to make sure that, we bring this up here in the chamber, because that question gets asked, and I don't want people to think, well, look at council, they're in there developing and around our water supply. We actually, I confirmed that with the director today and understood it's completely different, separate space, and because of the topography and the ridge, we're not impacting the water supply by approving this, and any further and future development in that space, would consider those sorts of things. So Julia, can you just confirm that I had that right? If that's okay? My
Yeah,
understanding
yes,
is
you
correct?
did, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, thanks, Mayor.
Okay. Got our comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The last one is a motion to accept the permit listings for week ended April 13th, 2023 as tabled. So moved.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
I guess the other thing was the Great Pond update we did for residents' purposes. We had a meeting with our consultants last week, and they gave us an update on where we stand with Great Pond and its progress. And I guess we're expecting that by the end of June, I guess they will have some type of preliminary plan laid out as to how we may hook into Great Pond, what type of infrastructure we might need there, and what other potential implications the putting of a plant at Great Pond may entail. So we're looking forward to that, and then we'll be able to start tracking down some money for that project, I guess. So that's my report, Your Worship.
Okay. Thank you. All righty. Administration, Human Resources.
Okay, so
Councilor Manning. Sorry, go ahead.
we had our meeting on Thursday, April the 13th, and myself and Deputy Mayor and Director of Human Resources and CAO attended. It's all there in the report. I'll touch over the emergency preparedness plan is ongoing. There's a brief paragraph there where April the 3rd they met CEO and Fire Chief and members of the senior management team to do a tabletop discussion. And they're working on that. And all members of council will be informed more in the near future once the plan is fully revised. ATIP requests, an update was provided to all members of committee on the number of ATIP requests received to date. And the next one is Council Professional Development and Travel Policy. So I'm going to read this one out. Based on discussion at public council meetings and committee of the whole meetings and the subsequent deferrals, the Administration and Human Resources Committee discussed the need to revise the Council Professional Development and Travel Policy. A recommendation will not be ready for tonight's meeting, and as a result, a recommendation will come forth to enable council participation in professional development opportunities. This motion is to cover off upcoming, I'll use the term events, excuse me, that some of the councillors would like to attend, but in order to do so, need a motion so that we can go ahead and register and things like that. So I'll read the motion out. The Town of Torbay council members are able to participate in professional development opportunities as per the approved 2023 budget allocations. Specifically, $4,000 for the mayor, $2,666 and 67 cents for the deputy mayor and each councillor. Each member of council will identify their own professional development opportunities in the interim, and until a revised policy is adopted by council, the chief administration officer will monitor the expenditures and advise council members when their professional development allocation is expended. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions, comments?
I'd just like to briefly speak to the, I guess, to the part about where we're looking at the professional development policy again. As like most of the policies, they're all living documents, and with different things that have come up over the last 4 to 5 months or more, it seems that things need to be reevaluated. So, but so as not to hold up any council members or restrict them from attending any upcoming events that are soon to be coming up. That's why this motion is put in place. Just wanted to put that out there.
Okay.
I'd just like to add in there, there's been many discussions around this, and I think not only this policy, but some policies were, and this one in particular, rushed through, but we don't know the ramifications of it until we're actually, some issues are after coming up. And one in particular that I guess while we had talked about this has happened, that myself and Councillor Manning had expressed interest in attending the symposium. And because there was no motion, and because I guess some of this part of the agenda had been put off the last couple of minutes, deferred, it wasn't realized that we didn't have a motion to attend the symposium. So, and I think our deputy clerk had been in contact with them and said we would know more tomorrow. But because of that, the symposium is sold out, and we missed the due date, whereas in the past, and if we know that we have this amount in there, and we don't know what else is going to come up like that, because if you miss a meeting, and even the summer, if we go to the same agenda that we had last year, only meeting every so often, or once a month, or every 3 weeks, that enables it. So that policy, there's major changes that we need to look at putting in there, and I guess lessons learned from having a policy that was done in haste. So that's and I will be supporting, of course, the policy, the motion.
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead, Councillor Tapper.
Thanks. No, I'll be short. I just think, it's time to get this done, and I want to thank the committee because it's been on the go now for a long, long while, as Deputy Mayor alluded to. But, at least there's some numbers there we could work with and going forward, so I want to thank them for their work.
If I could, I just wanted to ask the question about the comment the deputy just made about policy changes being made in haste. This is new to me.
Last year, I'm referencing when we made the policy originally. To me, it was done in haste without looking at, and like some of our policies, we don't realize the implications of a policy. And what we're saying, you should have a policy in place 4 or 5 months before you actually have a motion, so that you know it's meeting everybody's needs and that it is the policy that we need to have.
So can I finish my question?
No, I just thought you wanted clarification from me.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I do, but I wanted to finish the question if I could. The question that I wanted to ask was, it's news to me that it was made in haste, and I'm asking why, because this is the committee who is speaking to it that brought this one forward. And not only was this travel policy brought forward in April of 2022, it was also amended and brought forward again in November 2022 for these changes that we are specifically speaking about now. So I'm just trying to get a better understanding of why the comments are coming from the committee who brought it forward, saying that the decision was made in haste to bring it forward, because I'm not sure why there was haste to bring it forward. So that's what I'm trying to understand, is what was the reason for the haste?
I mean, haste is probably just a word that Deputy Mayor is using to feel that how quickly, and to your point about adopt the policy, then revising it and to bring it forward again. So, you know, the chair explained the process that they're going through, and that's basically where we're to now. So
Right, but I'm asking for the opportunity for the deputy mayor to explain why
the
she's
deputy
saying
mayor
having
already
haste.
spoke to this motion once, and Councillor Manning brought forward the motion. So that's it. We'll carry on to, do anybody else have a comment?
So are you as chair refusing her the opportunity to answer my question?
She already spoke to there's a motion on the floor. Each member of council has an opportunity to speak to the motion once. Deputy Mayor spoke to the motion, and you spoke to the motion, and Councillor Tapper spoke to the motion. So if anybody else have anything to add?
Mayor, I just asked for clarification on her comment, that was all.
Right.
And I'm
Did you want to
asking-
give clarification on your comment, Mary? or
I
good?
jumped
She just
in
did.
to say that with regards to any document, I explained myself in saying that we should have it for a period of time before we have a motion to make sure that it's suitable. And one example right now is with that motion that I think that clarifies the whole thing when I say in haste. Two councillors missed the opportunity to attend the symposium because of this, the way that the wording is in this motion. That's an example, so.
All right. Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay. Now, we'll move onward to Council Professional Development and Travel Policy 2023 FCM Board of Directors election process. Councillor Appleby, request for council support. And Councillor Appleby has asked, certainly for council support, further to the email received from her, to seek re-election to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Board of Directors, and as per the FCM election process. Attached is the following motion. So, I'll read this out. Federation of Canadian Municipalities, election to the Board of Directors. Whereas the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, FCM, represents the interests of member municipalities on policy and program matters that fall within federal jurisdiction. And whereas FCM's Board of Directors is comprised of elected municipal officials from all regions and sizes of communities to form a board base of support and provide FCM with the united voice required to carry the municipal message to the federal government. And whereas FCM's annual general meeting, AGM, will be held in conjunction with the annual conference and trade show, May the 25th to the 28th, 2023, followed by the election of FCM's Board of Directors. And whereas FCM does not cover costs or reimburse for Board of Directors meetings, be it resolved that Council of the Town of Torbay endorse Councillor Trina Appleby to stand for election on FCM's Board of Directors for the period starting in May 2023 and ending June 2024. And be it further resolved that the Town of Torbay Council will cover the costs associated with Councillor Trina Appleby attending FCM's Board of Directors meetings as per the Council Professional Development and Travel Policy and the 2023 Professional Development Budget allocation for individual council members. So moved.
Moved.
Second.
When do I
Second.
ask for a friendly amendment of that?
You can.
No?
Go
I'd
ahead.
like for the total to be put in there of 2,666.67.
Already.
Yes, because this has been, I guess, and I will say for anybody asking that, this has been on the go since Thursday, and back and forth, and Friday, and again today, and that was something that was left out that, I guess, from committee that wanted the amount put in there.
Okay, so do we have a seconder for that?
I'll second it.
All right, so basically what you want to do is right at the end, after the word council
Yeah.
members.
Because the period is not
value.
even in there, that's what I mentioned this evening, just put the amount in there.
That doesn't change the nature of the
No.
motion?
No.
So it's a friendly amendment.
If I could speak
Yeah.
to that, Mayor, please. The first thing I want to note is that I don't feel that I'm in a conflict on this motion. And if you refer to sections 99 and 2025 of the Municipalities Act, section 205 speaks to remuneration and other expenses in line with council business. And the voting process, section 99 refers to the expenditures as per the approved budget and the appropriate documentation. We also have an email on March 21st from the CAO, and she says, and I quote, "When I spoke to Municipal Affairs, they stated no one will be in conflict voting on PD similar to remuneration." So just want to establish that for the record, that I'm not in conflict on this motion. And
Right.
two, that friendly amendment.
But I don't think that anybody
No,
said that
but
you were.
because of the history of motions on this,
Okay.
I was advised by Municipal Affairs to be clear about why I don't feel I'm in a conflict
Okay.
and why I have the right to vote on this. So I just want to make sure that's the case. And the last thing I'll note is that we do have actually our adopted council package in May of last year, I believe it is. There's a part of that that states that I'm not in a conflict on these things as well. So I just want to respond to that because I saw that in the package, I looked at it, and this motion, this resolution is brought forward in consultation with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. Our CAO reached out and spoke to FCM today to ensure that the motion as presented is able to move forward by FCM. If we make a friendly amendment to this now to add that, one, it could disqualify FCM accepting it, and number two, we have an adopted travel policy that the deputy mayor just spoke to and said was made in haste. However, that adapted travel policy, I sent an email today and I asked the question, if you put in there that there will not be another cent more than $2,666.67 provided as per this right now, what that does is it takes out the ability, as per the current policy, to be able to say in June that when there is an opportunity to, and it's right here, let me see, I actually have it here. I asked why the motion states that no additional funding will be allocated when the adopted travel policy states a review of the year-to-date expenditures under this policy will occur on or before June 1st of each calendar year. If budgetary fund remains, a second request will be circulated to all of
Can
council.
I just interrupt you for 1 second?
If I could finish reading the policy?
Can you speak to the motion that we have
I
here?
actually am, because what I'm,
It doesn't say it.
no, it does, because the friendly amendment that the deputy mayor is requesting, Mayor, will impact my ability to be able to participate for June when the time comes to look at the reallocation. If we say only $2,666.67 as per this,
But that's your allocation.
but Mayor, if I could, because the Municipal Act says that we have to follow the adopted policy of council, and I'm reading it and I'm quoting it, it says, "A review of the year-to-date expenditures under this policy will occur on or before June 1st of each calendar year. If budgetary funds remain, a second request will be circulated to all of council to confirm interest in additional professional development opportunities for the remainder of the year. The approval deadline for these additional requests must occur on or before June 30th. Any secondary request shall be reviewed and ratified by a motion of council, subject to any remaining funds available within this section of the annual budget." So if we add what the deputy mayor is asking for and change this, effectively what that does is it says you have $2,666.67. Councillor Appleby, you do not qualify under a current adopted policy, which was adopted November 2022, brought forward by committee, that I would be excluded from that process. Now that would be, I would expect discrimination towards me if I was not allowed to participate in a fair, equal policy
Sorry.
that's provided for all members of
Okay.
council.
Time.
That is why
Time.
I'm opposing this. Thank
Time.
you.
Okay,
Could I
go ahead.
speak to that,
Yeah.
please?
Just get some clarification.
So, as the deputy mayor mentioned, this was discussed, reviewed at committee last week on Friday. Councillor Appleby did ask for some clarification, and I did follow up with FCM. I left a voicemail message, and then I sent 2 emails. So the first resolution that I sent, the last 2 paragraphs read, "Be it resolved that Council of the Town of Torbay endorse Councillor Trina Appleby to stand for election FCM's Board of Directors for the period starting in May 2023 and ending June 2024. And be it further resolved that the Town of Torbay Council will cover the costs associated with Councillor Trina Appleby attending FCM's Board of Directors meetings as per the 2023 budget allocation of $2,666.67 and the current council and professional development and travel policy, and that no additional funding will be allocated." FCM came back and said that that resolution would not be accepted. What they did say would be accepted was the friendly amendment that was passed last year. That's when I revised the resolution, sent it to FCM, they confirmed it would be acceptable, and that's what's in the council package. So including the dollar value will not be acceptable to FCM.
But that's what's in the policy anyway, that amount,
Right.
and budget allocation. So we're saying the same thing regardless.
We just don't have to put it in.
Yeah.
But actually, we're not, because we're following the policy, the ability to reapply in June.
Order, please. You already spoke to it once. What I'm asking for clarification is from the CAO, is that there's no need for the friendly amendment? Is that what you're telling me? Okay. Because
It's-
it states in here that it states our professional development policy, and actually,
If you put
And
the
it
dollar
states the
value, if
budget
you put the
allocation.
dollar value in, it will not, FCM will not accept the resolution.
all right. We clear on that now? Do anybody else have any comment?
On the motion? You're
On
So
the-
it's the
you're still
friendly
speaking
amendment.
to the friendly amendment,
On the
right?
friendly amendment.
I don't, well, to CAO's comment over here, it's,
I don't-
won't be
right.
acceptable in that resolution that's there.
But isn't it meaning the same thing?
Well, it
I'm
can,
re-
if it's changing the nature of the motion, if it makes the motion be not acceptable, then it's not considered a
if-
friendly amendment.
I just want because I made the motion,
Yeah.
that's what's in the policy, and that's what's in. So regardless if we put it there or not, the amount is, so I just want everyone to understand that the amount is $2,666.67. That's what the allocation is, so regardless, so that there's no misunderstanding on what the allocation
Okay,
is.
so you want to withdraw that friendly amendment? You're ready?
Long as everybody is under the understanding, so CEO, I just want to make sure that we're saying the same thing. That's what we're saying, because that's in reference what's in the policy, and it's reference of what was in the budget allocation. Because I don't want to be here in 2 months' time coming up the same thing, coming back forward again, saying that it was a misunderstanding.
All right, well, I mean, the motion seems pretty clear to me, right? The last part, to be it further resolved, talks about our
Yeah.
policy and
And what's
budget
in there.
allocations for individual members of council. And this is a motion that's acceptable to
Yes.
FCM, so I think that we should
And that
go
amount
forward as it
is insinuated and that it's in there. If that's what everybody's understanding is, then that's fine, but
But the understanding is that we're following the travel policy, and the travel policy is clear,
You're out of
Mayor.
order, Trina,
Okay.
please.
What the
But the
deputy mayor
policy is
saying-
going to change.
Guys, please, the motion is what it is. So
Yeah.
I don't consider your friendly amendment a friendly amendment, because it's gonna change the nature of the motion and make it not acceptable to FCM.
That's my point. I made that, and you're saying it's not acceptable, but that's what I'm still saying. It's in there in the
Implied,
motion anyway. It's implied, yes. And the policy, as we know, is under revision.
All right.
Okay.
So can you withdraw your friendly amendment?
Yes,
Because you
as
put it out
long as
there.
we're all under that
If everybody in
understanding.
agreement, withdraw that friendly
That
amendment?
is under
please?
the same
I agree,
understanding that
yeah.
we have.
Well, the professional development policy is quoted in there, so whatever's in that is
Yes.
going to
so-
follow suit.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Ann? All right, so to the main motion then.
Main motion on the floor, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Comment on that.
We haven't gotten, oh, yes, we do, sorry.
Number one is, there's a couple of things, and then thinking about it, obviously, we think about it the past year and a half, and more recently, heavily lately, and with the friendly amendment that was proposed. There's a couple of things. Number one is that this crosses 2 years, May 23rd to June 2024. So theoretically, we adopt the same budget next year. There could be two amounts of 266,667 going to Councillor Appleby's professional development, which could go towards FCM if she so chose. This motion worked fine last year. We had some angst around it for a period of time, but I mean, it operated. No one asked for any other funding, or no other funding was awarded beyond what the budget was. So I don't see any issue with that moving forward, right? I think that, for future thoughts on this, and maybe attendance at board of directors for anybody, it could be anything, could be M&L, it could be PMA, it could be whatever, that require something other than a travel policy associated with it. Travel really is for professional development, training, courses, that type of thing that's done. So maybe board attendance needs to be separate. And I'm not suggesting we need any more money to it. I'm just saying that at the end of the day, maybe we separate that, and that will certainly solve the problem, whether or not it's covered under travel policy or something else on those lines. But I think it worked, okay last year, as long as I think Councillor Appleby is aware that the amount of the budget is the amount of the budget, and that doesn't change, then we're stuck to the 2666.
Any other comment? Councillor Tappan?
Okay, just a few comments. I got noted here. I looked at my emails today because there were several others came in back and forth from CAO and Councillor Appleby and others. And I just went back, and since March 17th, that's only 1 month ago, I received 32 emails with FCM in the subject line. That's only 1 month stat. It's there many more times before that, or this last year or more. So I really think it's time for us to move on and get this done, because I'm really getting sick of it, to be honest. So I've asked before, and I'll ask again, what has this town gained from having a member of council on the FCM board, if it's going to be like this? So that was during the last term of council. I followed a bit, but during this term of council now, we're into our second year. Things haven't changed. So my answer to that question is we've gained very little, unfortunately. So now we're asked to pay even more if we continue supporting the same councillor having the same platform. So I really cannot support this motion.
Thank you. Any other
Do I get to speak to the
comment? Go
motion?
ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. So I have been on this FCM board for the last 3 years. The very first year, I got a call from the president, Garth Frizzell, and he said, Trina, your name comes very reputable. We would like to ask you to be the vice chair of the standing committee to increase women's participation in Canada, and I have accepted that graciously. Since then, the two preceding presidents, Joanne van der Hayden and Tanine Rudick, have both asked me to chair that national committee at FCM. I have actually been able to get town halls in place to deal about harassment. The entirety of the board is working together to deal with the culture of harassment, not just in Newfoundland and Labrador, but across the country. We've had a lot of positive gains. I was part of the group who lobbied for the increase of the federal gas tax that this town has benefited from. It's doubled since I've been on that board of directors. Since I've been on that board of directors, we have lobbied, and we continue to lobby the ministers around making sure that municipalities have access to funds to deal with wastewater, which is specific to the town of Torbay. When we make decisions here as elected members of council, we're making them for the benefit of our community, not individual people. We do it for the community. When I sit at the FCM table, I am doing it for the benefit of all communities across Canada. At the event in Ajax that I attended, I shared with you at the last council meeting that at that table, at the reception, I was able to facilitate a conversation where all the provincial and territorial associations across Atlantic Canada are now working together with our CEOs to have a fiscal framework that is going to have united voice from Atlantic Canada, going to the government, going to the FCM, and working collectively. So to the question of what have we been able to achieve, I've been in national videos at FCM, but how strong we work together. I've been very respected at that table, and I've been able to do amazing work representing our town and putting us on a national stage. As far as the money around this, I do understand and I do respect the policies of this town. And what I'm asking is that we as council follow the policy of the town and that councillors get equal opportunity. That's the only question I ask for. And to Councillor Pollard's point, he's right. The 2,666 that was budgeted is applicable for now. But if I could note, I've been on the M&L board since 2018 as the Avalon director and the vice president. The town of Torbay has never had to pay me to send me to any M&L events since then. This year, I participated in Strathcona. I also participated in Ajax in person. Both of those events that I in person showed up, participated, networked, and talked beautifully about how amazing our beautiful Torbay is. I was able to do that, and it didn't cost $1 to the town of Torbay. So I'm very proud to hold this seat. I'm proud to be a national chair of a committee and well respected at that table. And I'm asking for the opportunity to continue to do that and represent our town at the national stage and to continue to lobby ministers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I thought that was the fire alarm when it went off the first time.
All right, any additional comments?
I got.
Go ahead.
I just want to say that I think that Councillor Appleby has done and continues to do a great job as the director representing the municipalities on policies and programs that fall under the federal jurisdiction of Newfoundland and Labrador. But this year, we, the council and staff, took a long look at our budget for 2023, and we did not make any, had to make a lot of hard decisions, and we didn't allocate funds for FCM director. And based on the hard decisions, we had to increase the mill rate, and not everybody was very happy about any of that. And I put a lot of thought going into this. My point is, if FCM supports all-inclusive, equal voice, and all the wonderful things that they're promoting out there that they're doing. And Councillor Appleby just touched on it, how participating in M&L has not cost the town any money, that they pay for it. Then the question has to be asked, and I asked this before, so I don't want this to be looked at as something personal. It's something that we had talked about before, and that FCM should be paying for the travel of all board directors in order to give equal opportunity to the small municipalities that are around the province. Not only in Newfoundland, across Canada, can't afford to send councillors or staff to M&L conventions or symposium or training, let alone for this. Why should the town of Torbay pay, using taxpayers' dollars, for a councillor to represent the province of Newfoundland at a national table? And this is what it is. The councillor of Torbay had to fight to have a councillor or staff to attend FCM years ago. And if we approve now this position, the board position, knowingly we have to pay all the associated costs for other councillors, will not have the opportunity to attend FCM or experience the great rewards and to hear the guest speakers, keynote speakers, and to be able to bring back information to the town. The winter lights that we've got up, that was my first time going, and I thought it was wonderful, and residents still too. And I always say it's hard to know what it is you don't know, and this is one of the opportunities that were taken from other councillors to be able to go. And right now, there's a couple of us that'd like to be able to go now, but because of what we were pinched in like we are, we can't even put our name forward to attend in May. The current PD policy, as referenced in this motion, needs substantial revisions, and due to the wording, expressions of interest to attend didn't even get an opportunity, I'm talking about for the symposium, because we missed the deadline on this. So I cannot look at this and go back, because every opportunity, and it's quite evident here tonight, that any money that's left in the PD policy, they come and looking for to support this. Let FCM take it up and support it like M&L.
Time. I'll just have a brief comment. I think that the policy that you're talking about and council we painted our own selves into a corner when we cut our professional development budget in half. And I agree with you totally that I would love for a newer member of council, someone who hasn't participated at the FCM conference before, to be able to go and do that, because it's a tremendous learning experience, and you learn so much from going there, and new ways of doing things that other municipalities do things. So, you know, that's part of what we got to go back and look at. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we took a decision, budget time, on how much money we were going to allocate towards professional development for members of council. It is what it is, you know, and I have mine and you have yours. When, you know, when mine's expended, it's gone. And, you know, if I want to go anywhere else or do anything else, if something comes up, then I will pay for it out of my own pocket. I was thinking earlier about when we go back and review in June, and hopefully you're going to go back and look at that, because to me it don't make any sense. Because if something comes up, I'm supposed to go to a UMC meeting in August in Bonavista. Vista. Because of my position on the board of directors with UMC, that's paid for by M&L. But if something comes up that I can't go and attend that meeting, the deputy mayor, as the alternate for UMC, should be able to go to that meeting. If she has no money left in her budget, that means that our town is not going to be represented at that M&L committee meeting, which is really not a very good thing. So that's one thing that jumped out to me about how that policy really don't work. That, you know, in my mind, your allocation is your allocation, and it should stick with you. But anyway, I'm going to leave the policy piece to the committee. I wish you luck in your election.
Just a point of clarification, Mayor.
Yeah.
If you weren't able to attend UMC, I'm the vice president of M&L.
Our town has an alternate representative for UMC,
Right.
which is the deputy mayor.
But what I'm saying is that our town would not be not represented if it was necessary. I would step up and make sure that we had representation as a
But that's-
team player to
but
do
that's
that.
not-
I
know
just
that.
want to make clarification. I don't want you
that. I
to
understand
think that that would be the case, because I would. That's what the beauty of having the two of us at the table is.
I understand that, but that's not the point, though, I'm making. The point is that a representative from our council should be able to go and attend that in my absence. And the designated person for that spot is deputy mayor, you know, so. Anyway, I will support this motion. Good luck in your election. I hope you get it, and continue doing the work that you're doing. All right, back to you, Councillor Manning.
Okay, I don't think I've commented on it yet, have I?
No.
I too, you know, think that Councillor Appleby is doing a fabulous job. It's something she's interested in, and hats off, you know, to being all involved in it and everything like that. I still don't see the full benefit of what it brings to the town of Torbay itself. Because I feel, you know, some of the things that you had mentioned is, well, it's all going to come here anyway, regardless of if we have you 2 or 3 on the board. Understand about the networking and things like that. I am one of the ones, as a newbie, and I know there's people around the table here who wouldn't be, but I'm interested in attending or seeing what these are. One-offs will do me. One exposure will do me. I'll know. With M&L, the symposium, you know, the first time was great. I was looking forward to the second trip. I know that, you know, sometimes it continues, it repeats itself, but the networking part is huge at any kind of thing you're going to do. And if you go to the symposium and you're going around, you attend some of the sessions, guaranteed, sat here, I guarantee you that you're going to come back with, at the very least, one thing. hopefully 2 things. So, you know, like, I'm absolutely torn because we got the budget and you know, I struggle with the budget itself, and I still struggle with the amount that this could cost, potentially, and that the amount of money that it potentially could cost, what that money could be used for the town itself somewhere is, you know, like, I'm struggling with
Aren't we only
the
talking
debate.
about what's in the adapted travel policy? That there's no additional cost on the
Right.
table here.
No.
Okay,
Okay, well,
Just
apologize for that, but that's where I'm to, and I just wanted to, I guess, make my thoughts on it too. This has been a struggle, it's a big struggle, and this has been a continuous thing since I've been on council, and I'm learning a bit more, but it's a struggle. That's it.
okay, call the question. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Defeat? 3-3. Motion defeated.
Yeah,
That's unfortunate. Okay,
yeah.
back to you.
All right.
Chair.
What was the vote?
It was tie vote, so the motion failed.
Policies and procedures, we have some motions here for some other policies to come forward. I just wanted to get my hard copies out. And first motion is email voting and polling policy. Motion, the town of Torbay adopt the email voting and polling policy as presented effective April 17, 2023. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions?
Comment?
Go ahead.
This motion is in contravention of the Municipal Act. We do not have the ability to take decisions behind closed doors via email. I even brought forward a notice of motion about this a few meetings back. The only thing that can be ratified in the public chamber via the Municipalities Act is a decision of council that is made at a privileged meeting. And if you're going to have a privileged meeting, you're talking about HR, legal, sensitive matters that could impact council's ability to carry out its activities, information that could cause financial loss, a proposed or pending acquisition, commercially sensitive information, matters pertaining to litigation. These are not decisions to be taken via email without public debate. At the end of the day, the Act is very clear. It says, "A meeting of council shall be open to the public unless it's held as a privileged meeting or declared by the vote of council present at the meeting to be a privileged meeting." That is section 2.3 of the Municipalities Act, it's 1999. I'm very concerned that if council adopts this policy this evening, that we are adopting a policy that's contravening the Act, that is contravening what we're supposed to be doing as an elected municipality. And I'm very concerned that Municipal Affairs is going to look at how we're conducting our business and send us back and say, listen, boys, you got to rescind this because you can't be conducting your business via email and the back doors. And what it says in this policy is that if council can't get together and take a decision, then we're going to take a poll or a vote via email. That's what special public meetings are for. The deputy mayor just referenced that we had to wait 2 weeks for a motion. No, we didn't. If there's a pending important issue before council, it states in the Act that we can and we need to have a special public meeting called to address that issue. So even the fact that this made it to the public package is questionable for me, how we got there. But if council adopts this evening, the council is in contravention of the Act and how this municipality is supposed to conduct its business, and it causes me great concern that it even made it here in the first place. So those are my thoughts on it. I won't be supporting this motion tonight.
Thank you. Could I get some clarification on that from CAO, please?
We sent this out for comments.
Yeah.
And we never, my understanding, we didn't even get any comments on what have you back on it.
That's okay.
I know, but it's not the fact that it's okay. We shouldn't got this far.
So there's been some, I guess, minor matters that have come up lately, which was the rationale behind drafting the policy. One was a letter of support for a regional SPCA project with no financial support. There was an email circulated. It was recommended that there be a special public meeting called or bring it forward to the next public meeting, which is what happened. They were under tight timelines. The other piece is and Municipal Affairs has confirmed that I take my direction from Council Collective. But there are times on email that individual members of council ask me to do certain things, and I should be saying no, because I take my decision from council. That is why the rationale for the policy was to come forward. It wasn't for major items with approving, awarding tenders or finances or anything like that. It wasn't about circumventing the process. It was meant for minor details. And as I mentioned to committee, if council's not in support of the policy, that is fine. There are other municipalities out there that have the policy. That's actually where the best practice came from. But if the policy is council decides not to move forward with the policy, we need to confirm a mechanism about giving me direction, because I don't take direction from one member of council.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other comment?
Yeah, I have a problem with the policy, and I apologize if it was circulated before, because I know when I sat down to read it 2 nights ago, I went down through the 3 of them. I said, holy jumpers. I said, policies. I don't like policies myself, by the way, just in case anyone knows me. I can't stand them. But they're necessary. But trying to read down through them, I laid it aside and went back again. I went back this afternoon and looked at it. I didn't see them there. So I thought they were withdrawn. So I didn't get a chance to do my total due diligence with all of them. But the email one was the one that stands out as most bothersome. Not the fact that there's need sometimes for a quick decision on things that can be ratified later in council. It's the fact that it's email, and you're not going to, while there's a read receipt process, we're not in control, total control of technology that's required to issue emails type thing. It's not within our own defined network or control network. 24-hour period. I mean, what if I don't, not in phone range for a 24-hour period? Every council should have, the notification for when there's an issue on the go. So a certain period of time. For a meeting, you got to call 24 hours, whatever, in advance for a meeting. So, from the notification side of things, I don't think that is there. The other thing is to CAO's point about taking direction from one council. Yeah, there's a fine line between what's operational and what requires a motion of council, and I wouldn't want CAO to take direction from any one councillor on something that required a motion of council. And if it comes down to that, I think then we can certainly, convene a meeting and have that larger discussion. I mean, some of the smaller things still, I don't think there's anything broken the way we were doing things prior to trying to put through an email polling policy. I think it muddies the water and just makes it a little more potential for things falling through the wayside by email being the way we're doing things now.
Okay. Ever comment?
So, okay, go on.
No, just briefly, I'm in the same boat as Councillor Howard. I apologize for letting this one slip by. So again, I think there was 3 or 4 policies came out at the same time. Excuse me. Mic on. But anyway, I'm I agree that, and I don't like decisions being made by emails. I'm on a couple of boards, and it's better to have, even with technology now with Zoom meetings, we could, I know we've got a policy on that, and we're strict, but at least we could have 3 or 4 councillors tune in on that, get a majority, and make a decision. So I don't see any reason why we have to adopt this policy.
Anyone else?
I wanted
Go ahead.
I, for one, am not don't like the policies, because as soon as we get into policies, but I guess the last council and this council, every time something comes up, or very often, is we should have a policy, and often it boxes in. But I know the reason for this was, it came up after we had the one for the SPCA, and even something as simple to send a letter of support went out. So then, the old way of doing it, a lot of times, the CAO or somebody would call each person and say, this is on the go, I don't see what the difference is. Because, Mr. Mayor, this is on the go, how do you feel about it? So then, everybody is checked into it, or the majority of people that you can get a hold to. I'm fine either way, but there are times that you need to make, and if it was me, I had, to me, policies, as we just said with the other one, they're really not worth, a lot of them, the paper that they're wrote on, because we have policies here and motions for them within our own council, and we're not even following them. So, I find that policies are good when it's convenient. Other than that, they're not. So I'm fine with whatever, but there's a lot of work after going into some policies, and I think Councillor Tapper just hit on it. There were a number that weren't completed, and it seems lately, the last little while, a lot of them are gone out, and they're ones that have been, probably need to be moved along. And I really encourage people, because it wouldn't have got to this point if everyone had to take the time when they went out by last Thursday or whatever, asking for comments to get this far to the public chamber.
Okay. I can see the rationale behind this, that the CAO is looking for direction. I would think that we could have some, like, really, I don't know that when SPCA were looking for a letter of support from our town, that actually needed a motion of council, in my opinion.
Because there wasn't enough of us here that night to...
Right, but for something as simple as that, to have to convene a meeting and get staff here and incur costs to the town to be able to send off a letter is ridiculous, really, when you think about it. There was no, for something like that, I completely understand. We could poll council, say, do you think I could send a letter to this? And if you don't care, fine, we could send it. I don't even know, that might even be potentially a operational decision that could be made. I know that CAO doesn't want to do that because she wants to take her direction from council. So, I wouldn't want to get into making any kind of big decisions through email. And, I know there's lots of towns that do it, and just because a lot of people do it doesn't mean that it's right. But, I think we should sit down as a group and come up with some kind of criteria of things that we don't feel that needs a motion of council. I don't think it needs a motion of council to send a letter of support to somebody if we're all in agreement to do it, right? So, I don't know, I'll leave it at that. I don't want to be getting into having a policy where it's going to make things more cumbersome and actually tying our hands to try and do something that we can do. But with that in mind, we do need to come up with some guidelines for council when it comes to giving direction to staff, because it's not our job to, outside of here and motions, to direct staff. That's Don's job, and it's our job to give her direction, but as a group and not individuals. So, all right, back to the chair, or
Just on that note, is it possible to, and I don't know which way the vote's gonna go, but if this is voted against, is it possible to monitor this for the next period of time, so we know? I can't think of any situations off the top of my head that would require us to be emailing somebody for a decision that we couldn't call a meeting for. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what type and quantity of happenings we're talking about. I mean, if you tighten everything up. I'm not saying things are loose, but I'm just saying, I just know that, you know, if everyone's really looking a week ahead and saying, yeah, okay, we know it's coming down the pipe, we need to get a meeting, so let's try to get as much information as we can related to this. If we tighten up on that operational side, then we'll be able to, you know, head certain things off of the past, saying this stuff is coming in, and not have to wait for that 2-week cycle. I know from previous experience that lots of times left the council meeting and the next morning you had to make a decision on something, but you knew it prior to the council meeting, right? Or you knew it was coming prior to the council meeting, just didn't work through the system because of whatever reason. But anyway, if I'm just, you know, I don't know what the examples are that you know, the CAO would take direction from an individual council for that would require a motion of council, so.
Okay, and I don't know why I let you speak twice to that motion, but back to the chair. Oh, go ahead, Don.
To Councillor Pollard's point, I don't know if committee would consider withdrawing the motion, and we discuss the matter further, as you suggested, Mayor, at Committee of the Whole, and then bring something back to the public chamber.
Okay.
Can I ask that if we're going to do that, that we bring in municipal affairs and we have a conversation? Because we've completed our training.
Right.
You and I were in the same training session. And municipal affairs told us in the training, there's only one place decisions are made of council. They're in the chamber. They're not a committee of the whole. They're not behind closed doors. They're not by email. They're in the public chamber. And if there's something that comes up, we call a special public meeting. So at the end of the
Right, but
day,
I don't know where you're going with all that.
our responsibility as a municipality
Motion?
is to provide direction to the CAO through the motions
Oh, yes,
that we
okay.
adopt here
All right,
in the chamber.
good.
So,
Good.
this is my concern.
Well, we can have a discussion as council at a committee meeting about a policy and then bring it forward to the chamber for a decision. That's perfectly valid.
But
That's
if
a
it
committee meeting.
impacts how we do our business under legislation, wouldn't we invite
Trina,
municipal affairs?
I think that we all done the training. We all understand the legislation. Don understands it better than anybody else sitting around here. So I think that we can get together and come up with a policy and bring it forward. I mean, that's the whole job. We don't create everything around here. There's research got to be done and all that kind of stuff, so. Go ahead.
Councillor Appleby, the point, I guess, my thought is not to discuss this draft policy, to withdraw the motion, shelve it, have a discussion about specific examples. If there can be a procedure that doesn't violate the legislation, then we can bring it forward to the public chamber. It's not about to have a committee of the whole to talk about the email policy.
Right.
It's just working out a protocol so that if it means a special public meeting, or to the mayor's point, that a letter of support with no financial commitment can be written, just, it's a general discussion, there's no decisions to be made. That's all I just wanted to clarify. It wasn't about having a discussion about the draft policy. We'll shelve that if committee wants to withdraw the motion.
Okay.
It's just to work out operational matters.
Can we get a unanimous consent to withdraw that motion, please?
Can we have one?
Unanimous consent to withdraw the motion.
I'm fine.
Yeah, sorry.
Good?
Yeah,
Everybody?
so do,
Councillor Manny can just look at withdrawing the motion, so.
yeah.
Yeah, but once the motion is made, you gotta have either defeated or we can unanimously decide to withdraw.
Withdraw it.
Yeah,
Good.
Do we need
unanimous.
to unanimously decide to withdraw?
Yeah, or else we gotta vote on it.
I think we need to withdraw, but I've got a question how it came to the chamber in the first place.
Well, I mean, the committee brought it forward as a request from the CAO for a policy about clarification. I mean, this has all been pretty much laid out. So we withdraw the motion, and then we'll work on something else. We'll move on.
Yeah.
Right?
And I'm
Or you
fine
can do a
with that.
motion to withdraw your motion if you want. I just don't want it to be so complicated. like,
Yes,
why is
exactly.
everything gotta be so
Yeah,
complicated?
exactly. I move that we withdraw, we withdraw the email voting and polling policy. So moved.
Second?
Okay,
Second.
Seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Carry on.
Okay, next motion. social media and media relations policy. The Town of Torbay adopt a social media and media relations policy as presented effective April 17th, 2023. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments? Right.
I have concerns with this policy as well. Let me get back to where I was. It states in here that council members have the right to speak to media and to, share that it's their own opinion. But it also ties in here a methodology whereby if a member of council is approached by anyone in the media, that they have to advise the mayor and the CAO, and then wait for content and information, and then wait and see who the mayor is going to appoint, even if that person came to you. So how do I get to speak freely about what's going on with something if I've got to wait, send it back to the mayor or the CAO, and then the CAO is going to give me speaking notes about what I can speak to? It impacts the councillor's ability to speak on behalf of the residents and to speak freely if that's the case. So when I look at this, the respectful communication around social media, the respectful communication in the chamber, the respectful communication around decisions of council, all that's standard and all that's actually in the code of conduct and the act of what's required of us. But the pieces in this policy that require that the minute that, say, if Catherine Wilburn calls me, I got to say, Catherine, I can't speak to you. Or if she calls anyone on council, I've got to call the mayor and the CAO. I got to let them know that you've reached out. You've got to wait until I get the bullets and the information I'm allowed to present to you back. And then once I got that, I'll call you back. That's what's written in here. So under that guise of communication, I think this policy impacts councillors' ability to do their work. And I think that, we really need to be careful about the language that's in the policies that are coming forward. And I think that, the spirit of having a policy to make sure there's respectful communication is fine, but a policy that impacts what a councillor can and can't do when they're communicated with by media or how they communicate on media, that's restrictive, and I can't support that. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comment? Councilor Pepper?
Over the last month or so, I've had two calls from media. And the first thing, Catherine Welburn was one of them. And, but anyway, the first thing the person said to me was that indicated that the mayor, I talked to the mayor, and the mayor said, pretty well gave permission for me to give an interview. It was with VOC on that shooting over my way. But anyway, I did the interviews, and again, it was fine, but going back, and we've got a councillor here that was on council when I was mayor. But that was what we did, If there's anything on the go, media-wise, the mayor had to look after it and or designate somebody on it. And it works. It do work, It's not every day or every month you get a call from the media, but the person who should speak to, on top of the list is the mayor.
Yeah.
So, I think this is fine.
Okay. Anyone else?
I just want to say that it's always been known, I guess, that the mayor was the official spokesperson for the town. And I'm fine, and I guess I didn't read into it the same thing that Councillor Appleby was just read into it. But, as it is right now, and most times is only probably the Northeast Avalon Times that contacts somebody and it's about something, a motion or something that comes up. But I've always seen it as the mayor going back to the very beginning as the official spokesperson for the town. And it's not that often that anything like this is, but it was one of those that has been on the go for a while that we were required or asked to have a policy, and it's part of the communications policy that came out of that interview that you had. And it's all joined together as part of that when I asked where it came from, right?
Yeah. Anyone else? Rhonda?
I,
Didn't you put forward the motion?
yes.
Okay, you have to wait. Tony, did you have anything to add?
I was fine with the policy, and to Councillor Appleby's point, yes, I can understand the potential for silencing council members, I guess, but I don't see that necessarily being here. I think it's, legislated and is in the act as well, that the mayor is spokesperson for the town. If there's anything of a sensitive nature, I think the information needs to be fed through proper communication channels so that the message is not misconstrued or how words have double meanings. Sometimes it needs to be professionally, responded to or something along those lines. Then I think, definitely has to go to the mayor. But I didn't see anything here that really stops any councillor from speaking their own mind, as long as they sit and say, listen, this is my opinion, right, and not necessarily those of the town, something along those lines. So I'm fine.
That's right, and I guess to me, this is just about official stuff coming out from the town. And to Tony's point, the mayor is, according to the Municipalities Act, the official spokesperson for the town. If I get a media inquiry and I'm not sure, but, well, the first thing I do always is I go to staff to get the relevant information that I need. And if there's somebody else on council that can speak to that matter better than I can, I defer that. So if it's related to planning, I might send them off to Tony or any member of council. But regardless, if any member of council gets contacted by a member of the media asking for their input or their opinion on something, I mean, you're free to do that. We're all elected separately. This thing here is about official communications coming from the town, which I think is a little different. Anybody here could say, do whatever they want, but they have to be mindful that when you're making official communications on behalf of the town, that we gotta be careful, make sure that we get all of our ducks in a row, and whoever's speaking is the person that should be speaking. Anyway, I'm fine with that. I don't see no impediments here to any member of council discussing anything with anybody. Okay, back to you, Ron.
No, I just wanted to, I agree with this policy also, and as has been said, I've always assumed, and of course it's in legislation, that the mayor is the spokesperson, and as you just said, you can pass it on to anyone else, and we all got the freedom to speak as long as it's, it's specified that that's our personal opinion and not the opinion of the town. And, I do agree with it, and I think it's, a good policy to have in place, especially in this day and age with social media and stuff, right? That's
Okay.
it.
Call a question. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Yeah.
Yeah, next one, respectful workplace and harassment prevention plan policy. The town of Torbay adopt a respectful workplace and harassment prevention plan policy as presented, effective April 17th, 2023. So moved. Sorry.
Moved. Seconder? Seconded?
Second, okay,
Okay.
sorry.
Comments?
Could I speak to that just now for some clarification?
Yeah, please.
So many years ago, we adopted the respectful workplace policy, and then it was amended to include the harassment prevention plan. And with the adoption of the Code of Conducts recently, Municipal Affairs advised that our respectful workplace policy and the codes of conduct would have to be seamless, so there's no conflicts. In addition, Occupational Health and Safety has stated there was a gap in our policy and that any complaints had to be referred to an external party. And that third party should be through legal, is what they're advising. So that's why the appropriate changes are made in the policy.
Sorry, Don, you explain that again? Complaints to the external party? On
It has
what
to be referred to ensure no bias, that, or any interference, that they would have to be referred to a third party for handling.
Okay, all right, thank you. Comments?
Mayor, oh, go ahead, Councillor Tapper.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead,
Sure,
Trina.
thanks. Question, Don, the last two reviews that happened with respect to workplace policy happened with an external consultant. Was there an external consultant engaged in this review and presentation of this policy?
It was reviewed by
Legal, okay. So the concern I have here, I'm not going to support this tonight as it's put forward. One of the things that says in here, it talks about provisions of information to a worker at risk. And it says employees and council members will be provided with information, including personal information, if there is risk of workplace violence from a person with a history of violent behavior, if the worker can be expected to encounter that person in the course of their work, and the risk of workplace violence is likely to expose the worker to injury. In these circumstances, the disclosure of personal information will be limited to what is reasonably necessary to protect the worker from physical injury. Now, what we're saying in this policy is that we don't say exactly what it is we're going to be providing, but it is going to be personal information about somebody. How is it substantiated? How do we know that it's factual? How do we know that it's relevant to that person? How do we know that we're not putting ourselves in a legal situation whereby we're at risk, where we're taking someone's personal information and sharing it to someone else? Who is tracking it? Who is accountable for it? What is the content? We don't know. For us as a town who just had a conversation about the lack of money, I'm not sure what Stuart McKelvey charges us per hour, but I assure you that it's not going to be cheap for us to have to refer a file to Stuart McKelvey. And then if it goes to Stuart McKelvey, how does that work? Because yes, they're a neutral third party. However, they're a neutral third party who has to work with the CAO and the mayor directly on town issues. And we're asking them as a neutral third party to be the people who work with the CAO and the mayor on legal files, but to handle a complaint against the mayor and or CAO. How is that a neutral third party? It doesn't really make sense to me. And then the other piece, if it does go to court, and if there is a situation whereby we end up like other municipalities where this does go to court, and our town lawyer has been a part of the process, are they able to even represent us in court if that's the case? So I have concerns about this policy as it's presented. I'm wondering if this is hastily made, like the deputy mayor said. I'm wondering if what supersedes here. Is it the code of conduct or is it the respectful workplace policy? And if someone brings it forward under the respectful workplace policy as presented in the code of conduct, there's different things that are supposed to be happening. How do we know which one it is or how? I mean, I would expect that the legislation that we have under the Code of Conduct and the Municipalities Act would be what the court is going to look at, not the policy that's adopted by the town. So how do we make sure we're protecting ourselves in that space and minimizing legal risk? With what's presented here, I don't see that. I can't support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ed or comment?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I just wonder, because this is a very comprehensive policy. And I always wonder, and again, we're bringing numerous policies through. Is this one, as an example, modeled after any other policy out there adopted by a city or town?
OHS actually reviewed our respectful workplace policy and our codes of conduct and identified where the gaps were, and that's why the policy, and Municipal Affairs did indicate before that you couldn't have conflicts between respectful workplace and code of conduct, and they were actually the ones that recommended that we speak to OHS, because OHS legislation trumps everything.
So, you know, for the amount of time that we as one town spend on this, you know, again, I go back and say that this really should be M&L's responsibility, not only this policy, but, you know, to have a library of policies, you know, so everybody won't be spending money, hours and time and everything else on adopting these policies. Especially, you know, one like this is very, very important. But I just want to make sure too that in comparison to the city of St. John's, they have a similar policy, you know, covering everything.
Any other comment?
Yeah, I wasn't really finished with my question. I was trying to let the information that CEO had provided me slip in terms of the process and how we feather it out. I personally like more time to review this again, and I apologize for that. I really do. This is pretty deep. I know we have a harassment plan in place, a workplace prevention plan in place for the town. I would think already in. This is just updating it for the most recent legislation, right? And I know part of the provision of information to worker at risk is now a part of the occupational health and safety plan, and is a tricky one to Councillor Appleby's point to in terms of what information you do. But we are bound to protect people from potential harassment outside when we know that the history of a person, if there's anybody associated with them that could provide potential risk to them in the workplace. That is necessary to be known, and how we do all that, I don't know, but I mean, that is fine. So the provision of information to worker at risk is indeed something that needs to be covered off. I'd just like to review it in a little more depth, because this reference to Stuart McKelvey and you know, an outside party certainly opens a new door of information that we pass on to somebody else, and potential liability and expense to the town, right? And certainly nice of them, and they took the lead and came back with some type of template for this as well. So I'd just like to have some more time to run down through it. And like I say, I apologize for not digesting more, but when 3 came out, I explained that earlier on. So.
Well, before we do that, I just want to, everybody's spoken to this, right? Has everybody spoken to this already?
No. I
Did you
just
have
like
anything
to
to
say, no, the same thing that I guess what Councillor Appleby picked up in this reference to solicitor, getting them involved in it. And it's one of those, again, that we wanted to have discussion. We could have ended up having a committee of the whole meeting on some of these, but again, they went out asking for comments and trying not to have the committee of the whole and going down over each one. So we've put that into practice now, and we've tried that, and that don't seem to be working. So I'm recommending that we go back for any of those policies, and probably to go back, make a recommendation from a HR committee, and have a committee of the whole meeting on it. Because unless everybody is after reading them, it's wasting committee's time and everybody else's time. And it's so important to have the comments back before we bring it to the chamber.
Okay. One thing I will say is that I'm not a lawyer, so I have to take the advice from legal that we get and from those professional organizations like Workplace Health and Safety and Occupational Health and Safety and those people. The Municipal Code of Conduct legislation that came out recently, in my mind, is full of holes. Is a horrible piece of legislation. It has the right mindset, but from towns that I've spoken to that have actually used it, it causes more problems than it helps. For one thing, in it, there's way too much responsibility put on the CAO to everything from determining if a investigation is required, what the punishment should be, all these things, which I think is unfairly placed on them. So I think that before we adopt this update to ours, to make sure that we understand exactly how this incorporates into the other one of the provincial government that we adopted a couple of months ago when it first came out. You know, all these policies are great until you have to use them. And then you start to realize where the roadblocks are, where the hiccups are, what works, what doesn't. I know that our current policy that we have right now, I feel it's way too much responsibility placed on 2 people to deal with everything. The mayor and the CAO would have to deal with any potential complaint that comes in. And, you know, I just don't think it's fair. So I'm fine with taking this back and having a deeper dive. Make sure that what we bring forward makes sense, addresses everybody's concerns, and, you know, I shudder at the fact that if everything has to go external all the time. To me, you know, there's certain ways, things that we can do that shouldn't require that. But like I said, I'm not going to argue with these professional organizations. They know what is the law, and that's where we get our advice. Anyway, yeah, go ahead.
So in discussions with Municipal Affairs, they did say that this is their obviously first draft of the Code of Conduct, so they've encountered, I guess, some issues with implementation, so there will be amendments coming forth. But one thing that council needs to remember is that our respectful workplace and harassment prevention plan policy needs to be reviewed on an annual basis, and we haven't done that since 2017, so we need to.
Could that be part of this?
Yes, that would be, yeah. So we need to ensure that we're looking at this on an annual basis, like all our policies, but just to put that to the forefront, which we can discuss at committee of the whole.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're going to withdraw this?
Yeah,
Motion to defer.
okay,
Second.
Motioned, seconded.
yeah.
All in favor?
Are we deferring or withdrawing though?
We're going to
We
defer.
deferred.
It still has to come back. It has to be updated. We're going to defer, bring it back, and then get it right and bring it forward.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Thank you.
What do I
Is that it for you?
Yeah, well, everything else is there. Different policies that are being worked on, and by the looks of it, Deputy Mayor, it seems we'll be doing the rest of these in Committee of Holes.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mayor, I have a question. I have asked in every meeting since February 6th for information from the hiring at the History House for the community outreach position. There's an email that I sent on February 2nd asking for that information. I've yet to see the email response with the information or the information that I've been asked for in the public chamber about it.
Are you talking about the new position that we're hiring now?
No, I'm asking about the position that was hired sometime this summer
My
that council
understanding
was
is
not
that-
aware of.
That question was asked and answered.
It was not asked, it was not answered. The email of February 2nd, I asked the question of, how am I just learning that this person was employed with the town? Are they still employed for what period? Who made the decision? Why were council members not informed? Where did the money come from for this? There was a comment in the chamber, it was emergency hire. In the documentation, it says temporary. My understanding is that this position has been employed ever since it's been there. What's the justification? My understanding is that it didn't go to committee, and it didn't show up in the package until February 6th, when the advertised position closed, I believe on the 3rd of February. And I asked the question, where was it shared in the public package that we created it? What work was completed by this position? What was the result? Where was it advertised? How long and where? The information that I've requested in here, and I won't read every single bit of it out, but I think it's really important that we do get the answers on the position. It's not about who's in the position, it's about the process of the hiring of the position, how it went down. And it's my understanding that for funds to be reallocated and for positions to be hired, that requires a motion of council. And I can tell you, I contacted 2 members of council after the 2nd of February, and both said they didn't know. I asked the committee in this chamber about it, and I was advised that they learned about it in January. So if that position's been in place, and I don't even know when it was hired, sometime in the summer, what's happening? There's no information on those details that I've been asking for.
All right.
And Councillor Pollard even said in the last public meeting, the information that Councillor Appleby has been asking for is still not here. There's bits of information that we've received, but all of the information that I've been asking for has not been provided. So I'm going to ask again that it goes back, that the information on that position and what happened around it is put together and brought forward to the chamber so the public understands what's going on. Because I think it's important, if we're not following our normal practice, and if there are parameters, the public needs to ask questions. People, other members of our staff have had to compete for their positions and go through processes. So we need to know how a position was created and under these circumstances.
Right.
And it needs to come forward.
Position was created when the budget was adopted.
No, the position was created before the budget. The position was created, as we learned in that ATIP last summer, and was hired, and it didn't come through the
The
package.
budget was adopted before that.
No, the budget was
Should we be
adopted in
discussing
January
Okay, all right, okay.
2023.
All right,
I'm
fine.
talking about the summer of 2022.
All right.
So if I could please ask again respectfully for that information to come forward, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. You're finished, Councilor Manning?
Yes, everything else is there, and certainly any more questions.
All right. Thank you. Corporate Services, Councilor Tepper.
Okay, we'll look after number one, the committee report. First off, so we met on April 17th, as usual. Regular payroll for 56 employees for the 2-week period ended April 7, 2023, totaled $130,099.08. Council remuneration for 7 councillors for the quarter ended March 31st, 2023, totaled $39,282.60. Accounts payable for the 2-week period ended April 7, 2023, invoices in the amount of $413,210.99 were processed. So we have some invoices for council approval. So we have 4 operating invoices totaling $173,065.91. So invoice March 2023, CIBC Mellon, $37,053.54. Invoice March 31st, 2023, NL Power, amount $19,696.44. Invoice March 16th to the 31st, 2023, Receiver General, $100,538.46. Invoice April 2023, Trio Benefits, $15,777.47. So moved for approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And there's one capital invoice, invoice 101000.
Mayor, we have a conflict on this one.
Oh, yeah, okay.
This is the loader.
Yeah, let's do it, right, Canoe. Okay.
Mayor and I have to step away from that one
Right.
as board members with M&L.
Do I don't know, we don't have to go out anymore, do we?
You can stay there.
Okay.
Okay, invoice 101000182, Harvey and Company Limited. Amount is $489,195.05. So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion? No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? Motion carried. Easy?
All right, thank you.
So we'll go on to the motions. Motion number 1.
Carry on, Mayor.
Okay.
Okay.
Motion number 1, 2023 JCB backhoe. The Director of Public Works solicited pricing for the purchase of a new 2023 backhoe with sweeper attachment through the Canoe Procurement Group. The original delivery dates varied from 11 to 12 months for the lowest cost supplier to 1 to 2 months for the highest cost provider. Subsequent to the original quotes, the timeline for the lowest cost provider has been reduced to 3 to 4 months. Because of the reduced delivery time, consideration of higher quotes to avoid costly repairs during the delivery period is no longer a concern. So the prices received were JCB, $226,754 plus HST, John Deere, $255,337 plus HST, and CAT, $258,853 plus HST. The purchase of the 2023 JCB backhoe with the sweeper attachment will be over budget by $11,466. This is offset by the savings on the purchase of the 2023 JCB loader, which came in at $70,303 under budget. Both purchases are being fully financed. The committee recommends the purchase of the JCB model 3CX-14 with the sweeper attachment for the quoted amount of $226,754 plus HSD. So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carried.
That it for canoe stuff?
That's it. There's two.
Thank you.
So motion number 2, project financing recreation open spaces. The recreation open spaces project is $177,176 project that is cost shared with the province 60/40. The town's share to be financed is $70,870. Rate quotes were received from TD Bank, RBC, and NLCU. The lowest rate quote was received from TD Bank. It's a 3-year term at 5.06%. The committee recommends awarding financing in the amount of $70,870 for the Recreation Open Spaces project to TD Bank for a 3-year term and 15-year amortization at the rate of 5.06% with a monthly payment of $562.70. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Motion 3, project financing, 2023 Torbay Roads. The 2023 Torbay Roads project is $1,412,521. Project that is cost shared with the province 50/50. The town's share to be financed is $706,260. Rate quotes were received from TD Bank, RBC, and the NLCU. The lowest rate quote was received from TD Bank. TD Bank 3-year term 5.06%. The committee recommends awarding financing in the amount of $706,260 for the 2023 Torbay Roads project to TD Bank for a 3-year term and a 15-year amortization at the rate of 5.06% with a monthly payment of $5,607.62. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Motion for Royal NL Regiment High School Hockey Tournament.
Hold on. I've got a conflict here. My daughter is playing in that tournament, so I'm going to step away from this vote.
Okay.
Okay.
So the Royal NL Regiment is hosting their annual high school hockey tournament in Paradise, April 24th to the 30th, 2023. Do I need to read all of that out?
No.
No.
Just do the motion.
So in accordance with the town's donation policy, the committee recommends a bronze sponsorship in the amount of $250 towards the cost of hosting the provincial tournament. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Motion 5, Peak Sharks sponsorship. Nora Fleming of the Peak Sharks cheerleading team will be traveling to Orlando, Florida to compete in the World Cheerleading Championships from April 18th to 25th, 2023. So in accordance with the town's donation policy, the committee recommends a donation of $200 towards the cost of traveling to the World Cheerleading Championships. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments? All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
Now, for motion number 6, the Royal Canadian Legion, I'm actually a member of the Legion, so I now if somebody else wants to take this one.
All right. Tony?
The Royal Canadian Legion has requested that the town advertise in this year's edition of the Veterans Service Recognition Book. Proceeds raised from this important project funds the publication of the Remembrance publication and makes it available throughout the province. Funding also contributes to ongoing community activities of the Provincial Command, including scholarships, youth-sponsored programs, and support for veterans throughout Newfoundland and Labrador. In accordance with the town's donation policy, the committee recommends the purchase of advertising space in the amount of $200 plus HST in the Royal Canadian Legion's Veterans Service Recognition Book. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And just wanted to make sure that for the last motion, Councillor Eckley declare a conflict of interest somewhere else. Okay. Okay, just checking. I know you did.
Motion,
sir.
motion 7 National Fast Pitch Softball Championships. The NLU 15, under 15 selects female fast pitch softball team will be representing Newfoundland at the Canadian Fast Pitch Championships being held in Brandon, Manitoba from August 9th to the 13th, and attending the Quebec Rebels tournament in Montreal, Quebec on June the 28th to the July, from June the 28th to July 2nd. So Madison Dyer has requested the council's consideration for sponsorship. In accordance with the town's donation policy, the committee recommends a donation of $200 towards the cost of traveling to the national tournament. So moved.
Second.
Seconded. Comments?
I just want to ask the question, I probably should have been after asking it before, but all of those teams and individuals, they're from Torbay, that we just need to emphasize the fact, because you just never know sometimes if it's a team that's coming in asking, but, okay.
If the letters don't indicate their residency, we always go back and ask to confirm that they are.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
So there are other background documents and minutes there, if there's any questions.
All right, thank you, sir. Economic Development and Tourism, Councillor Eppley.
Thank you, Worship. Let me see. We met on April 6th at 6 p.m. via Zoom. We had a conversation about the Torbay Business Awards. The deadline to nominate closed at the end of March. A total of 19 nominations were received, 14 businesses, and there were nonprofits. It was an increase from 2022. There was no nomination received in the Youth Entrepreneur category. An external selection panel will review the nominations, and the awards will be ordered the week of April 10th, which means they're already done, and planning for the May celebration is ongoing. So the nominees will be announced in the upcoming Northeast Avalon Times newspaper. That's already done as well, or will be coming out, sorry, when that comes out. I know the nominees have been shared through our social media. A staff resource position, there's a 3-month intern position entitled Economic Development and Tourism Ambassador. It is posted and it closed on the 14th of April. The job posting is attached. The Torbay Makers Market is currently scheduled for July 15th at the History House. And under the expression of interest, we did discuss a submission that was received under the call for the expression of interest for the old, well, what is the bank next door. More details will come with an update, and we're going to take this to the committee of the whole for discussion. Councillor Manning and I had a conversation about the expression of interest. We asked for further details and understand that the Economic Development Tourism Officer would go back and get that information. And then it's my understanding that that will be brought forward to Committee of the Whole for further discussion. The other thing I'll just state on that is that, you know, we're very clear about making sure that the best return on investment and risk profile is looked at when it comes to what we do with that. So that'll be part of further conversations around what happens with that asset. Under tourism, there's a piece there about the 2023 garden tourism and what we're planning to do with that. So the Tulip Festival meeting was rescheduled. National Tourism Week, we had the proclamation this evening, I read it out. We will be launching an online social media campaign entitled Experience Torbay 2023. So there's information there about that. New business, Economic Development Tourism Officer Lawrence shared with the committee various projects that she's involved with, including the internal review process for the Municipal Plan and Development Regulations, RFP, pre-screening for the History House positions, and incorporation letter follow-ups to potential businesses in operation. And on that note, I'd just like to share that I know economic development is created as a separate group entity, but a lot of the work that Deanne does is intertwined with the planning department and the infrastructure and works department, and making sure recreation department, making sure that all of the bits and bobs that we're doing that have any impact on community and economic development have the support they need. So I think it's just important to recognize that. The next meeting is on April the 20th, and our meeting adjourned at 6:40. Councillor Manning, do you have anything to add to that report? No, that's good. Thank you. All right, well then, if there's any questions, I'll entertain them, and if not, that ends my report, Mayor.
Great, thank you. Any questions? All right, Infrastructure, Public Works, Pollard.
History House.
History House. Deputy Mayor,
History House.
sorry, I missed that one.
There's not much in there that's an update, because we never had our meeting, because I was out in Clarenville.
Okay,
So the manager's report is there. It's pretty straightforward. The museum service in operation. I know that there's a tea party taking place up there tomorrow. If anybody hasn't got a ticket, would like to go tomorrow afternoon. Everything is moving along really well. And I know that one thing I'll add in here, and I've asked Councillor Tapper to touch on some of the things happening with, as part of the folk arts that was intertwined here with regards to Solemn Goss's birthday. I will say while I'm at this though, in case I forget it, next week, the Volunteer Appreciation Night and the storytelling at the church is on to go the same night. So I don't know if there's any, because I was thinking there's going to be a lot of the same, potentially the same people that'll be over at the Volunteer, unless it can be made at a, so I don't know what happened there, but they're on the go for the same time period. So do you want to elaborate? Because I know I'm getting some questions on that. And CL tells me that Lara Maynard had a blurb up there about Solemn Goss's, the history now, because she wrote the book.
When it was shared on the town social media account, there was a comment, and I screenshot it and actually sent it to Lara and Noah, and she came back and actually responded to the comment. So I can screenshot that and put it on our social media as well. I didn't see her reply today, but she did comment that she did respond to the residents' query.
Okay, because I really encourage everyone, there's a lot of, seems like very good things happening next week, events, and encourage everybody to get out and support the Torbay Folk Arts community, as well as the fundraising, I guess it is, for the library. So you don't have anything that you can, okay?
Thanks for your short notice, but I'll rely on the GAO's.
Okay.
But I just wanted to like Lara Maynard did write a book about Solemn Goss's birthday, which is a great book. But I have a connection to the Gosses myself, as my grandparent was a Goss, and I've done some family history pertaining to Gosses. And they go back to 1670. First Goss came over from England, actually. And what his two
there's a couple.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure that'll, you know, because this is the second Salmongoss festival, and I'm sure that'll come up, because of storytelling and that sort of thing. I think will come out.
Took Derek a half an hour to announce everything the other night at the cop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's pretty hyped up about it all.
Yeah. All right, that it?
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Time in Torbay, just wanted to get an update on where things are within the committee, if I could.
We met, Director Martin and Manager Noah and Kara Eustace. The previous MOU, which wasn't executed, was discussed, and there was an the group is not interested in, I guess, leading events into the future, so they had no problem with the use of the name and time in Torbay for our events, and we do have a legacy recommendation to them. And also, Kara was going back to the group to reconfirm in writing that they've disbanded. And in their MOU, there was a recommendation on how the funds in the bank account should be dispersed to different community groups. So they were most concerned about that, and we said it would still be honored. So I'm just waiting to hear back from Kara. I know she was... her daughter was in hockey, and then there were some other members of the committee that were, previous committee that were out of town as well too, but can cycle back around. But there was no issues with the utilization of the name, so.
Thank you. So just, are we going to have like a finalized document that's a formality of?
There would be a motion,
transfer?
there would be a motion of council that would authorize me to undertake that. They're going to sign it they're going to sign something first, and then it'll come forth to council.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
While we're talking about that, in case I forget it, because we didn't have a recreation community services meeting, did an ad go into Times asking for volunteers for this year's time in Torbay like we had talked about?
So budget, we only have one page for the Northeast Times, and when I spoke to the manager of Heritage, he had another recommendation on that he was going to bring forth, and unfortunately I couldn't meet with the manager or the director today because I was working on another matter, but I'll follow up to see where he is to with that.
Well, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but the idea was, and I know from last year, with having the 50th anniversary, and the chair, and what we had been communicating to everyone, is that we would go back out again and ask for volunteers, just in case all the volunteers that were involved last year weren't able to come back, but let it be known that we were going to go out and have another one, because I'm just concerned who's taking the lead on this and the time frames, because by the time we get back here again, we're going to be in May, and normally that takes place in July used to be our time in having it, and time is slipping by.
So there will be a notice to go back out to engage volunteers. What was discussed with a member of the former committee, that this would not be one weekend, it would be a series starting June 24th, I think, with a multicultural festival, and go right through to Torbay's incorporation date and our birthday celebrations. And there are staff from Recreation Community Services and Heritage meeting on that, and working through the volunteer framework, schedule of events, proposed budget. So all that would come back through committee and to council as well too.
Okay, so what committee can and I'm just saying, I'm on both committees, and I just like to know where that's going to be, because we'll have a meeting next week.
And I can provide,
And you got it, do you, Jen?
do you want me to update
from today.
Okay.
So I met with Noah this afternoon on that, so some of the items from the plan will come to the Recreation Committee next week, so that would be, there's a detailed budget for the full events that would go from June to September. So that will come to Recreation Community Services, because there's some reallocations, not more budget, just we want to reallocate some money so it's all in the same pot. And then we can't, the volunteer call, Noah felt it couldn't go out until we had the confirmation from Tom and Torbay, out of respect for them. So once we have that from Cara, we should hopefully next week we'll be able to put the call out for volunteers. But on our end, we're always, we're contacting volunteers. I know Scott has contacted them for some of the Killer Coast stuff for foods and serving meals and stuff. So we're still kind of in contact with them. But Noah has a plan for that. So the volunteer side will come through his committee next week. Next week was my
I just
understanding.
want to ensure that anybody that's out there that's interested and mightn't be involved last year, and where we had been saying all along that it would go out again, that's all. And normally these things start planning probably in January, February, and I just don't want it to go off the rails, to make sure we've got something and getting the advertising and that stuff. That's all.
I don't know, well, I wasn't aware we had a budget for this until recently, so I wouldn't have been planning in January or February myself.
Okay.
Mayor, if I could, I just want to note that it's very respectful. I think Noah's comment to respect the time in Torbay and wait for that paperwork is very respectful, and I think that that is something that, we should do. As the CAO said, if there's going to be a formalized agreement of the transfer name and what's going to happen with the legacy piece as per the MOU, then, if we can get that ready for the next public council meeting, bring it forward, and then that allows for that transition and branding, I think that's a very good suggestion. So I just want to make that note.
I'll bring it up at the Volunteer Appreciation Night anyway, that keep an eye out. The town's going to be looking for volunteers for various things over the summer.
There's also a schedule, a tentative schedule, so I'll bring that next week as well, and Noah will probably bring it to his committee as well. And then once we get it all finalized, we'll go from there.
Okay, all right, thank you. All righty, Infrastructure, Public Works, Mr. Pollard.
Your worship.
Quickly.
Don't fall asleep for now.
My iPad is on 1%. When it goes to 0, the meeting's over.
Yeah, we met on Wednesday, as we usually do, bright and early in the morning. There's not much new to add from the previous time. Obviously, it's the time of year. I think the thing to note was the notification that was put out in terms of the roadwork project is going to start probably second week in May. Obviously, that's going to be weather dependent, and the first part will be, I guess, tear up, and then once the asphalt plant's open the end of May, then I guess there'll be a schedule for when the asphalt actually gets laid down. The other things there are just repeats from open items that are still there. We did speak about the hidden driveway signage and an email line. There's a response there from Transportation Infrastructure on that, saying that they don't see the need to put the hidden driveway signage back because the line of sights appear to be good there at the present time. So that's their official response on that. Cleaning contract tender came in, and we asked that it be sent back for further review and see if there's any other options to look at the cost structure around that. The building, the age-friendly community grant to Deputy Mayor's conversation earlier. The grant is for upgrades to the trail, Colonel Amherst Monument, and new benches. It says new beaches here. It'd be nice to have a few new beaches, but new benches. And that's what that money will be used for. Other than that,
All right.
not much more to report.
Go ahead.
To Councillor Pollard's comments on the upcoming road work and the open spaces project, there was a notification posted on the town's website and social media just to make residents aware, and once the director has the actual mobilization date, we'll provide a new update to residents as well.
All right, thank you.
Just a question, Brian, when do you expect the work to start into the upgrades to the junior field?
Yeah, so that's scheduled for May month as well. So the multipurpose court at Pine Ridge and the drainage up at the junior field is going to be done all through the month of May.
And then there's some enhancements in that
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
going to be a
up
lot
there.
of enhancements coming up in that area through the summer. Myself and Director of Community Services, Jen, trying to remember what the title was, met today. Actually, we went around and looked at some of the areas that we're doing some work this year. And I'm meeting with Grand Concourse Authority later this week as well. So
No, I'm just
something
thinking,
moving.
because minor softball net just starting up, and I know that the ladies are starting up the 5th of June. So just keeping that in mind, because really then it's only 4 weeks, and the time is here. And then with the enhancements up there, getting ready for the Killy Coast, there'll be a lot of activity happening up there in that particular,
Yeah, there's going to be a lot going on up
area,
in
so-
Upper Street Corner this summer, for sure.
yeah.
Could I just make a comment? The hidden driveway sign, it is noted in the email that they think it could be where the foliage in the summer, where the residents' concern are coming from. So they do commit in there to having another look at it when the trees are in bloom to see if there is a safety issue around the light of sight. And I want to thank the director for his work and continued diligence on this file, because I asked every meeting until we got it back. And thank you, Brian, for that. I really appreciate it. And the only other thing I wanted to address in here is the wind phone. And we did talk about it, and we did bring it back at the last council meeting. But I think that I would ask that the appropriate departments who need to take the actions that are in there now, we figure out who those staff people are and what those actions are going to be. Because our last conversation around that was that the cost and the social impacts and the research around it and that kind of stuff was not a function of the Department of Infrastructure and Works. The Department of Infrastructure and Works Department would be to put it in if council takes that decision, but the actual analysis around costing, where it would go, locations, social mental health aspects, maintenance issues, and the level of success in Deer Lake, those action items are items that I think belong with another department. So if we could ask that that gets actioned, and then a recommendation comes back to Infrastructure and Public Works, then we can figure out what we bring back to council on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? No. Brian, can we follow up with Department of Transportation Works and ask them if they have any idea when the work on Torbay Road is gonna get done? Like, when they, yeah, the bridge and the paving, when they're gonna start? All right, thank you. All right, where am I to? My iPad is at 1%. Recreation and Community Services. No report, only background.
No
information.
report, only, I think that it's worth putting in there that the minutes in the background, for some clarification, around that this is a joint, event with Solemn Goss's birthday, so there's some clarification in there.
Yep.
And how the grant and how it all, got initiated, so it is something between Recreation and Community Services and, the folk arts community all together, so that's where some of the funding is coming from, because that was questioned at our last meeting about some of the costing of the rooms and what have you at the Common.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. All right, liaison committees, Atlantic Mayor's Congress, no update. Intergovernmental Affairs, no update. Jack Arena, Tony?
Your worship, yeah, there's two financial statements there. They were tabled after last week, or last council meeting when I spoke to them, so
Okay.
nothing new to report.
Thank you.
Can I just ask, and I asked the CAO the other day, if Kathy has been appointed. Kathy, I'm going to say, because maybe then that the town should be sending a congratulations or something, seeing that that's part of the town, if she has been appointed to the position, and what they're doing with the hiring of her replacement. Because I'm assuming somebody went out when the prior manager left, as I asked if he was presented with anything from the town of Torbay and who was doing it. But I don't think any of that happened.
Yeah, he was presented with something from the board as a group.
Okay. All right, but anyway, I think there should be something to announce and congratulate Kathy.
Okay. We can We can write our letter.
Yeah. So I need a motion to make that happen now, or I don't know where anything is going with action items and.
I know, this is one of those things.
I know,
right?
these are one of these
All
things,
right,
like,
let's make a motion to write our letter.
yes, the new manager
Okay,
of the Jack
second.
Byrne
Second.
Arena, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye,
Okay, thank you.
there you go.
It was easy. All right, Northeast Avalanche Lake Council.
I wasn't at the meeting the other night.
Okay, but the reports are attached, right?
They should be attached. I came back from
Oh,
Clarenville.
hang on, that's the, never mind. My
What?
iPad just went dead. I don't see any reports.
They were there on the previous edition.
They were,
Well, the ones from
Jack
Wednesday
Byrne.
night wouldn't
they were
have
Jack
been.
Byrne reports.
No, not the reports. The Jack Byrne stuff was under the Northeast Avalanche Joint Council.
And told me about that
Oh.
earlier, and I told her I'd remember, and I just forgot.
They were moved when the same time that all those policies disappeared when I looked last time.
Okay. All right, Royal Newfoundland Constabulary, just the update from the correspondence that came in from them. We'll talk about that after. Torbay Volunteer Fire Department, Rhonda, take it away.
Okay, minutes are here for March the 13th, but more importantly, I'd like to acknowledge their Fireman's Ball Saturday night, 49 years. And I'd like to go through the firefighters who received their pins and different awards, because it was all well-deserved. So Todd House received his SEAL certificate for NFPA 101 Level 1 and a 5-year service pin. Ken Abbott, he received a 10-year service pin and Canadian Volunteer Fire Service Association's Municipal Long Service Medal for 30 plus years of service in the fire industry. Dedication. Ron Francis and Fred Goss, 15 years each, received their service pin. And Paul Blunden received a pin and a gift for 25 years in the fire service. Also, Jim Alconek received a plaque for recognition as an honorary member, 15 years of service. And there's another, this award here is called the Firefighter of the Moment Award, that is not given every single year, but for a specific thing. And this year it was received by Philip Whitten. Very briefly, that's concerning the lady on Torbay Road. Her wheel came off and someone stopped and helped out, and it turned out to be Philip Whitten, and she made a point of making it known and how grateful she was. And they're all important, but Firefighter of the Year went to John Goss. So congratulations to all. Huge thank you to the whole department. And as Mayor mentioned earlier tonight, next year is their 50th year. So we look forward to a good time. I'm not going to mention.
Well, they've come a long way, and to your point,
Absolutely.
I just want to add to what you just said. Also, congratulations and thank you to the Torbay Volunteer Fire Department Auxiliary.
Yes.
It used to be called a Ladies Auxiliary.
Yes.
Back when only men were firefighters.
Yes.
But now it's just called Auxiliary, and they're a small but mighty group. They step
Absolutely.
up and they support the fire department, and it's all part of their lives as too, so we just want to recognize that.
Yeah.
But also, and I mentioned this the other night at the dinner, and this is something I think that council and staff, everybody could be proud of, is that every vehicle that the Torbay Volunteer Fire Department has right now, that's in that garage, that's in one out down in Flat Rock, is been brought in here in the last 10 years. Every one of them are all within 10 years and newer. The oldest one just went out the door 2 months ago, Don, right?
Yeah.
And now everything is, I think that's quite an accomplishment. It's a commitment from us to the fire department to let them know that we want them to have the best of gear and the best of equipment, and when they do go out to fight fires or to answer any kind of call, that they know that the the equipment and the trucks that they have is top-notch, and it's gonna get them there safely and back. So that was, that was a feather in our hat that I put out there the other night at the fire department, and they appreciate all that, and we appreciate what they do for us.
And even the interest with the new fighters that were presented.
Oh, yes.
I can't remember, I don't know if it was 7 or, I'm not sure how many were there, but
I think it was
uh,
7 or
9?
7 or 9 maybe.
I wasn't quite sure, but fine group of candidates coming through the system there now too, and you could see their excitement and dedication when they received their, there's a word for it.
Their bars, they got their bars.
Yeah, but there's another word for it. But anyways, yeah, so that's the end of my report, and just congratulations and huge thank you to them all the time.
Okay, thank you very much. The UMC, there's no update. We're gonna be meeting on May the 3rd, the day before symposium starts. Quick meeting, and then again, like I said, we'll be meeting in Bonavista in August. Notice of motion, none, new business, pass. Councillor Epke.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of things, just to thank you to the volunteers that are making the Torbay minor softball happen and the minor soccer program happen again. I've seen the call for participation and interest on social media, and these guys are doing amazing work. They give a lot of time and effort into making that happen all throughout the year, and especially in the summer, so big thank you to them. And I also want to throw out a thank you to Patty Daly for having a chat with me after our last public council meeting. I shared some information about the scholarships that we were offering through the FCM under the national committee that I currently chair. And we had a good conversation again about the importance of women in the municipal sector, making sure that, you know, it's a space for all people to have an opportunity for the councils to reflect the people in our community and make sure that although many of us face barriers and they're real, there's also work that's being done to try to level that playing field for many women, many people who identify different ways in the sector, you know, dealing with racism, all kinds of different things, right? So on those things, I just want to make sure I put a thank you out there, because it's important to get the positive, good news story about scholarship opportunities and how great it is to be in this sector out and have those conversations over the airwaves. A lot of people tune in and listen to Patty, and he's always been a great support and amazing person to talk to with the good work we're doing here at the town and also through the FCM and MNL. So thank you.
Okay, good stuff.
Yep.
Deputy Mayor?
I'd just like to congratulate the fire department and thank them for everything that they do on an ongoing basis, but especially to firefighter of the moment, Philip Whitten, and Johnny Goss for firefighter of the year. One of the things I really, and I don't know all the names, but I got to mention one, and that's a big thank you to the coaches of the Eagles. And especially, I got to say something about Mike Upshaw, and to thank him for all the work and effort that he done with the under-13 All-Star team this year. And he had a couple of other people with him, and Ashley Cal took over the position as manager. And I know for me, following them around, I don't know who's going to miss the hockey most, myself or my grandson Gerald. But to see the changes and the development and what have you, and the friendships that everybody made over the duration of the last several months. And I can't, like I said, I can't say anything good enough about them. And also the House League that Gerald was on as well. It just, you hear all kinds of good things, but when you witness yourself, it makes it that much more apparent and justifiable. So big thank you.
Okay,
And that's
all right,
it.
thank you. Mike's fine fella. He knocked me out of the virtual COVID Dart League playoffs. So
And that's
I wasn't too
perfect.
happy- I wasn't too happy about that. Got himself
Tell him
into,
he done a great job.
got himself into the finals, but that's
No,
that.
it's good group of people.
So I just want to say thank you to council and staff and our residents who've over the last number of months come to our events and come to our meetings and ask us questions and reach out for help when they need it. And you know, thank you for all you do. And our residents who come and sit in our council chamber on a night like this. When I looked at our agenda, I said, we'll be done by 7:30.
Yeah.
We're not. Anyway, thank you, everybody. And with that, look, I got it on next to the paper. Our next public council meeting is scheduled, do anybody have any questions? Caroline? No? Ms. Lacy? No. Good. All right, next, pardon? No, I don't even worry about that no more. The next public council meeting is scheduled to take place on Monday, May 1st, 2023, 6:30 here in the council chambers in the beautiful town of Torbay. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
Second.
Seconded, all in favor? Aye, opposed, carried. Thank you very much.